Context. So recently in the UK, we had something introduced called the 2023 Online Safety Act, which we were told was to protect young people and children online when it came to them accessing not safe for work content or content that may be harmful to them. So on July 25th, 2025, IDEA was required to access many websites. These sites blocked displaying pornography, news stories, and also like general services such as Xbox, Discord, PlayStation, etc. Not long after this took place, YouTube announced certain content on the site will eventually ask for ID, which is what I want to kind of partially discuss today. I will be saying my opinion of these sort of new legal implementations are utterly absurd, and I honestly do not believe these are for the purpose that they are telling the general public, and many of my friends or family co-workers agree as well. So to really begin, I didn't really bat an eye to this whole Online Safety Act, so I didn't think it would be as restrictive, but as I've been scrolling on X, logging onto Xbox Live, reading news outlets, they've all been restricted by this new ID verification law. I was outraged, so I spoke with a couple of friends, and I knew immediately that they shared the same feelings as me. Today, I was actually rewatching some of my favorite videos from a creator you may know very well called Caddicarus, and one of his videos popped up in my recommended called I Ruin Peppa Pig for Everyone, and he made some very good points which majorly stand out today, and I couldn't recommend watching this video any more than anything really. He speaks strongly on how parents weren't exactly parenting, and we're effectively using YouTube and YouTube Kids to babysit their children. And, you know, of course, it's a bad idea for a multitude of reasons. Mainly being the fact that YouTube is YouTube, a platform for self-expression and a format where people can kind of produce their own videos and thumbnails and make them look however they want. Did you know people still watch Wings of Redemption, by the way? I mean, that's proper self-expression right there. You know, that's something, isn't it? Anyway, a lot of parents allow their kids on the platform and don't like the content their kids are watching. News outlets like Fox, BBC, ITV, etc. were covering this and framing it in a way where YouTube was at fault for a lot of these issues. And whilst that is in the slightest way true by videos getting onto YouTube Kids that weren't appropriate, we really need to ask why the parents were allowing their kids on YouTube in the first place, and primarily, you know, accessing the internet as a whole. To boil it all down, parents were not being parents, and they were using YouTube as a babysitter, which began all this outrage of kids seeing content online that should be censored by the platform, which, you know, this content simply isn't made for children, and YouTube's a platform for freedom of expression. In recent times, YouTube has made many measures to prevent content from being advertised or monetized that isn't kid-friendly. So, for example, people like Boogie2988 back in the day making his Francis videos, AVGN had to tune down a lot of the cursing in his videos, and the whole, like, iDubbbz Filthy Frank group had to more or less drop what they were doing and do something more sort of like general that isn't sort of engineered towards kids but isn't inappropriate simultaneously. I hated the fact that a lot of these people had to remove themselves from making these funny, authentic and comedic style videos because they simply couldn't get a good amount of income from them anymore, since the platform, you know, has kind of gone through these major demonetization issues. And, you know, ever since then, it's felt very dry in these areas, with many creators having to pack in their sense of humor entirely. This leads me to today where YouTube is now going to start asking for ID to watch age-restricted content in some regions. So no more saying fuck, shit, cunt, knob on YouTube anymore, guys. Just wrap it up. My first major issue is that many creators whose main use of comedy involves swearing to add comedic value to their content are going to be hit very hard by this due to many people not really wanting to hand over their personal ID to the platform. I don't make an income from this, so I really don't care what I say. I mean, I do it for fun, only because I have what is a very offensive word, a job. One that I quite like as well. My point stands though that income streams will be restricted majorly for many creators on this platform, and it's going to likely push them away or force them to change their content style to suit this new narrative. YouTube is really advocating for this whole safety for kids style website. Número 2. Handing over ID is bad. Handing over your ID on many sites is mandatory anyway, but these websites have encryption and security measures to make sure that like none of your information gets leaked to the public, which means it prevents scammers or anyone impersonating you. These could be insurance websites, flight booking sites, and some dating apps, which, you know, are on sort of the less secure side. A lot of these sketchy websites and companies like YouTube cannot guarantee that your data will be completely encrypted, as, you know, proven before. Many people's Google's accounts have kind of got they've got hacked, and there's been many data breaches as well on the platform. It'll be very possible that people with malicious intentions will be able to use your ID to impersonate you or use it for a multitude of vile purposes. This is the core issue of this whole ID system being implemented, and it puts many people's personal lives and security at risk, which can lead to some quite serious damage being done. 4.3, I don't know which one we're on, but I think we also need to take into account not what this means now, but in the future. So currently we have to deal with the fact that you possibly cannot access a lot of content due to not having any form of identification. But at the same time, we're slowly edging into this world where everything will be handled online using databases. And, you know, where does that lead us by like 2030, for example? Will YouTube have even tighter measures and require ID when using the platform? You know, will we be forced to, you know, have some form of identification which is digital, you know, on our phones at all times, which, you know, could tie us to things like social media, employment, criminal records. And I'm trying to say here that this system is pushing us in the direction of making it mandatory to use ID like 24/7, which, you know, like I said before, has serious security risks and makes it very easy for people to compromise our information. If we begin using platforms like, you know, YouTube, X, game services, and like Facebook, etc., to sort of collect data on us, and that all ties to your sort of digital ID profile, we're going to be heading towards a society where you are never safe and always at risk of someone being able to locate you and harvest your information sort of 24/7. It's quite frankly fucking terrifying. My final talking point is about freedom of speech. Now, I know this is a very touchy subject, especially in the West right now, but I'm going to try my best not to get overly political, but I just don't understand how we've gotten to a point where we were progressing so well in society and we were able to bond, share edgy jokes, you know, sort of have minimal fear and, you know, not worry about what we said. And now you have to be so careful with what you say or post online, because if not, you could easily become a major target of a lot of these sort of extremist organizations. I mean, sure, the internet shouldn't be a barrier for you to go and sort of spread hate and act the way, you know, you wouldn't in person, but we've now gotten to the point where we're policing it so much and we're just heading towards a society where so many people are not even allowed to have sort of like touchy conversations or sort of channel alternative or mainstream viewpoints, or, you know, even speak openly about the way they feel about the current way we're being policed. If you cannot handle your citizens speaking openly because it attacks your narrative, you only have yourself to analyze. I will conclude now that I'm very angry and sort of unfathomably upset with the direction YouTube and many other platforms are going. We are being forced and controlled on what content we can and cannot view, which all spiraled at the very beginning when, okay, I'm sorry I have to say it, these idiotic parents who didn't want to parent their children were not happy with them accessing certain content online because they didn't want to simply fucking monitor their usage and behavior. It's partially because of them we are now having to deal with literal censorship and accessibility issues to content, which at one point was open and made thousands, if not millions, laugh. I will finish by saying this though. YouTube, I'm speaking as someone who loves viewing and enjoying content on your platform. Please do not surrender to these governmental scumbags because they don't like what's on your website. You've given us thousands of laughs and opportunities. Do not bow down to those who restrict creativity. So it's time to end this video, and I want you to take away one thing, which is, you know, very important to, you know, not just myself, but probably you as well. We live in an age where we are having to hand over sensitive information just to view content in the sort of slightest way. So it's time to end this video, but I want you to take away from this video what is very important to not just myself, but probably you as well. We live in an age where we are having to literally hand over sensitive information just to view content that is in the slightest way enjoyable or comedic. And, you know, I want to live in a world with peace and minimal fear. Many thanks for joining today, everyone. Goodbye.